Okay.
All right,
Um,
perfect.
Hello. I'm
Hello,
Roy.
I am
Uh,
Nick.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay. So, I'm doing an interview with you. I have a few questions for you. I hope you can answer them for me. Um,
Absolutely.
okay. So, can you briefly introduce yourself and explain your role in ICT or software development?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Nick. I am a backend and DevOps engineer at a company called HashiCorp, which manages, it's mostly like client tooling. Like we have Terraform and we have this program called Consul, which is what I particularly work on. And yeah, I just do a lot of backend development. I like making APIs and whatnot.
Yes. Thank you. Um, so, what do you think is the most important part of the design phase in software development, and why?
I would say the most important part of the design phase is coming up with a general outline for how you want everything to work. Because I've found over my time of working on things that a lot of times people will just rush into a project and they don't really know what to expect or they don't really have anything specifically planned for what they're wanting to do. So I feel like getting everything out of the way during the design phase is probably just the best way, the best approach to take.
No. Okay. So, how do you decide which functions or requirements a software project should have?
Typically, I would say it depends on what the project is. Usually, if it's in like a professional environment, you're going to have all these requirements given to you by a product manager. But usually, if I'm just doing a personal project and I just need to design like what anything should have, I'm basically just going to figure all that out in the design phase. I'm going to come up with a general outline for what I want my project to actually do. And
Mhm.
then I'm going to come up with an approach that would be the most efficient.
Okay. And how do you choose which programming language to use for a specific project?
That's a good question. There are a vast amount of programming languages out there, and I would say it really, really does just come down to what is the right tool for the job, just like anything else. I mean, you're not going to use a pen for sketching and, vice
Yeah.
versa. But so, for example, if I'm working on like a website, if I'm working on the backend for a website, a language that I typically go to is called Go or Golang. It's made by Google,
Mm.
and they basically tried to improve on C, make it more readable, and it's very good at handling a lot of connections at once. If I was making something more like a desktop application, I'd probably go with something like C++ or C Sharp, where it would be a bit easier of an approach, and that programming language would be better at doing that. I would say generally just some programming languages are built better for certain things.
Yes. So, which programming language do you use the most, and why those in particular?
I would say the language I use the most is probably Go. And the reason for that being the professional environment I'm in usually goes with Go, no pun intended. But
Yeah.
I honestly, since I just do a lot of backend development and Go is just a great tool for that, that's honestly what I've been using the most.
Okay. And which tools or software programs do you use during the development process? Like for example, code editors, testing tools, version control,
Yeah, of
design tools.
course. There isn't really too much that goes into that, honestly. I use VS Code if I'm working on a bigger project. If I'm working on something a little bit smaller, I'll maybe use like Vim, just a like terminal text editor, just to edit one file because it's easier and quick. For testing, usually all of the testing is just built into the language I'm using. Like for Go, there's a testing library which I can just use to automate whatever I'm wanting to do. Um, yeah, and whatnot. I'll use Postman sometimes as well for like replicating an API request if I'm trying to test something, just
Mhm.
from my side. But yeah.
Yeah. And how do you test whether the software works correctly?
Usually I will try to think in my mind, what would a user actually try to be doing?
Mm,
And I'll try to replicate that. And then I'll also try to replicate, okay, what would somebody be doing if they were maybe trying to exploit my program, do something malicious to it? I'll add some of those in. And I'll be like, oh, I'll just think of all sorts of scenarios for what people might want to do or might be doing in, the real environment on the website. And I'll just write a bunch of tests for it and automate those and see how it goes.
yeah. And what steps do you take to make sure? Like I'm pretty sure you just answered this question, but like maybe you can elaborate. Like, what steps do you take to make sure the software is safe and protected against hackers?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a big thing that I do is I do a lot of manual testing since I personally have a background in, a web exploitation in that specific field in particular. So sometimes I'll go and I'll manually try to mess with the website, or I'll just include in my test, like, okay, what are common, vulnerabilities or exploits people might be trying to throw at it? And I'll include those in there. So I would say it's a combination of like manual testing for things that maybe a little bit more niche, maybe a little bit more advanced, and automating everything else.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you personally enjoy the most and least about working in software development?
Uh, Honestly, the thing that I enjoy the most is I've just always kind of had as a hobby. I love working on things and just figuring out how things work. The thing that I honestly have not really liked, especially in a professional environment,
Mm,
is having to collaborate with a team. Because if you want to, say, submit like a really big change, that has to be viewed by somebody else, it has to be looked over and,
yeah,
approved or denied. Whereas if you're just working on something for yourself, you could just do it.
you have
I'd
more
say probably that.
creativity in your hand than
Oh, absolutely, yeah. More
yeah.
creative potential, I'd say, for sure.
And what advice would you give to someone who wants to start programming or study ICT?
I would say the best advice I could give to anybody who's trying to get into it would literally just be to start doing it. Start making things, start messing around with random stuff. You can mess up too. If you get it wrong, that is like every single time you get something wrong, that is a learning experience. I would say if you are really taking it seriously, to get the concepts down, because that is the biggest part of all. Don't worry about the actual code, because
Mm,
honestly, it isn't really that important.
yeah,
Uh, just figure out how things work, and yeah, you got it. I think anybody with determination can do it.
thank you. And our last bonus question. Do you
Yeah.
think that artificial intelligence, AI, will change the way we develop software in the future and how?
I think it absolutely will. I think particularly for jobs that are more focused on like, I don't know, web design, for example, or just a UI design, I feel like AI is getting a lot better at doing things like that. Where it comes to the more logic side of things, I would say it's definitely got a long ways to go. I feel
Hmm.
like for a while there's going to need to be people overlooking that. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I think it's going to change things for sure. There's a lot more people using AI alongside just writing their normal code. Like if they're trying to, I don't know, write something quicker, they'll just plug something in and get like a function from AI that they could have just written. Yeah, definitely evolving.
Yes. Well, thank you, Nick. Thank you for the interview
Absolutely.
and answering
Thank
the
you for the
questions.
conversation.
And
Of course, man.
yeah, uh, I wish you a nice day.
You as well.